With a million podcasts out there, we're grateful you chose Twisted Titles. We give fantasy football advice to get your crap team to the finals. From Nate's cousin Eddie persona and his unapologetic love for Chubb, and Justin's hatred for Chris Ballard, our show is as good as a belly rub. Mark is the best of the NFC West, putting down Penguin Pete with his love for the Rams. Grab a whiskey or a beer, we're glad you're here. Welcome to the family, but plan for gibberish and rambling. We have recent news and games of the week. We talk PPR and weekly streams. Start 'em and sit 'em, keep 'em or quit 'em. Hit the like and sub buttons for the fellas. Got any suggestions? Just tell us.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Twisted Titles. My name is Justin Stevens. We're back with episode 251. So we are over the quarter 1,000 mark and headed towards 1,000. But Mark, my man, what do you think of tonight's intro?
I don't even know where to go with that one. I mean, it had a little bit of everything. There was like some Ariana Grande, some Nicki Minaj, some I don't know what we were doing.
The category was girl group.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. Was a whole group of girls in that one, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it. So a little different intro. It's funny that I made all these intro songs a few months back, so there's like dozens of them saved and ready to go. And so whenever I hear them, it's a surprise to me too because it's been so long. So that one was kind of comical, but yeah, Mark. So we kind of talked a little bit about it in the background. This isn't a political show, but this is a pretty important night for our country. So so you told me you were able to get out there and do your civic duty and vote today. So how did that go? Without getting political, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course. No, it is important to vote, regardless of who you're voting for. Just make sure you go out and do it. Mine was relatively easy. I'm in a smaller town, so I was in and out. No issues.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, me too. I think altogether I was in there about maybe 30 minutes, give or take. And it was probably a line of about 30 when I got there. So, which is kind of odd to me. We live in such a small area that that pretty much we were able to vote for president and governor. And then after that, everybody pretty much ran unopposed. That's you got like those 8 other people or 8 or 12 other things that you can vote for, and it's like vote for this person or nothing. So I was kind of surprised it took people as long as it did to get through the line, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, no. So election night, you guys probably glued to your TV. Maybe you're looking for a little bit of a break, or maybe you don't like politics, and hopefully this show is just right for you. We are going to be talking about Week 10 coming up this week, and our man Nate will be joining us here shortly as well. He's got to put the kids to bed and all that good stuff. But you guys can check us out at toiletsandtitles.com. We also have our Discord chat. The Discord chat is a place where you can go to talk fantasy football pretty much 24/7. But if you want in on that Discord chat, just reach out to one of us. We'll send you an invite. You can catch us at JustinFF_, at Nate_Dirt19, at MT Simon, and of course on the main Twitter handle at Twisted Titles. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for us as we're rolling through this. But no, all in all, good stuff. Fun day. We got a fun show for you. So also got to get that Frank episode in soon. So I'm thinking I might try to squeeze that in towards the end of the week. I'm going to try to throw out a special bonus Frank episode. So I'll be sending out some information on that in the Discord as well for those of you that play in the Frankenstank, or those of you that are just interested in a completely different style leagues. Matter of fact, I want to drop a teaser, Mark, if you don't mind.
Do it.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna try to think of a good one. Oh, I'm not gonna go over that one. That's probably the best one. I've added a bunch of new monsters. several new monsters because I have a really big rule change that's going to be coming up soon in this off season, like early in the off season. I'll be announcing it. But here's one. This one's fun. How about this one? The newest monster. Now, traditionally, for those of you that don't know about the Frankenstein, the monsters are usually, like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees or the Blob or whatever, just monsters from monster movies. But I'm expanding the idea of monsters just a bit, thinking a little bit outside the box. This one is going to be the Hans Gruber monster card from Die Hard, for those of you that don't know. So Hans Gruber, he was a thief and criminal mastermind that held the Nakatomi Plaza hostage for $640 million. If you play this card by noon Eastern on Thursday before the week's games start, you get to take a player hostage from your opponent. If you do, you select a player and you are taking hostage, or that you're taking hostage in the MFL message board chat. When you tell them that you're playing the card, you're also saying which player it is that you're taking hostage, and that player must then be benched by the team that you are playing, unless, of course, they want to pay the ransom. Your opponent may choose to pay you $100 in fab money to get their player out of the hostage situation. If they pay the ransom, then that's it. All is good. You get $100, they get their player back, and they get to play the player. You still get to keep the card if they can use their and they still get to use their player, but you earned $100 of free fab. If they decide not to pay the ransom, then the player must remain on the bench. If your opponent goes on to still beat you, even with that player on the bench, then you lose the card. But if you beat your opponent with their hostage player on their bench, then you get to keep the card as well. You only lose the card after you've earned up to 3 ransoms, so up to $300 of free money, or beaten your opponents up to 3 times, or like I said, if your opponent beats you when their player's on the bench, or of course the Ghostbuster, if you decide to play it against the Ghostbuster and they play their Ghostbuster card. But what do you think of that one, Mark?
I love it, but I think we up the ransom a little bit. I think
Yeah?
$100 is a little low. I think if they really want that player back, they really got to pay for it. It's got to hurt.
Right. And I guess I can agree with that. My thing is, I was worried about making it too much, because then if people are paying that ransom, like let's say we go to like 250 was my initial thought, then that's like 750 extra fab bucks that this person's getting for their monster card. And I didn't want it to be too strong for them. But at the same time, you're right. $100 doesn't seem like enough against them. So these are things that we're going to be talking about in our Frankenstein meetings that will be recorded for you guys to watch live as we're going through our Frankenstein meetings, because we will be tweaking these cards. I'm going to be sending that out to the guys once I finish them up. I do still have a handful of them that I've created that I've only started the idea of. I got to finish Jaws, Zombies, Leatherface, Killer Clowns, and Little Shop of Horrors are all cards I have a basic idea for that I need to finish creating. But once I get all of those done, I have over 54 now. I think it's like 56 or something like that I'll be sending out to you guys. You guys can check it out, those of you that are on my commish team, and we will talk those out a little bit more later. But a lot of wild ideas for the Frankenstein for the up and coming season. But that's enough of that. These people have tuned in for week 10. And we got some injuries. Now, I didn't go super deep on the injuries this week just because we have the trades to talk about. But Dak Prescott is a big one, hamstring. There's talks of him going to IR. He was already a low-end QB2, even in that offense with CD Lamb and Jake Ferguson. We had higher expectations for the defense that's been letting him down and putting him in bad spots as well. So is it time to just drop and move on from Dak if he is in fact out for the 4 weeks, or even better, if he only misses a couple weeks? Is it time to drop and move on from Dak?
This question always comes down to 1 or 2 quarterback league. For me, yeah, in a 1 quarterback league, I'm dropping him. 2 quarterback league, I'm probably keeping him on my bench or IR spot if you have one.
Okay, well, let's say hypothetical situation here, and let's just pretend for right now that it's a Frankenstein question, and that the guy has hold on, Joe Burrow, Bo Nix, Tua, and Dak. But he only has one wide receiver, and his hero is also a wide receiver. The other wide receiver is on bye. He only has 3 wide receivers on his whole roster. One of them's on bye. The wide receiver he does have is hero and CD Lamb. So would you drop Dak then to go pick up that wide receiver?
So that guy has all those quarterbacks and Dak? Yes.
Yeah, he's got Joe Burrow, Bo Nix, Tua, and then
Yeah.
he also has Dak.
Yeah. Especially in a league like Frank. Like,
Yeah.
it hurts holding on to guys.
Yeah, it's
that
just
league.
the rest of my roster is just so stacked that it's hard to at this point. It's hard to, but my wide receivers have been a huge issue all season, really thin because all of the receivers I had either got stolen early when I was losing on purpose to get a hero, or got hurt. Rishi Rice, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, that makes sense. That was kind of where I was going. I just wanted to double check with you. All right, Pat Mahomes ankle sprain, but he ain't missing time. We can move on from that. Zach Moss, season-ending neck injury. Now, I want to say 2 things about this before I let you do your thing, because I know you're ready for this one. All right.
Woo!
So first off, I know that I'm going to lose the season-long bet to you on the whole Zach Moss and Chase Brown thing. But I do still, even though it's a season-ending neck injury, I still want to give you your props because you were slowly starting to win that anyway, right? So, and I had agreed even at the beginning of the season it was going to end up being Chase Brown. I just thought it was going to be later in the season. You had more faith, so I wanted to give you props, give you your kudos, because some people might stop and try to say, hey, well, Zach Moss was hurt. We don't know what would have happened. We saw what was going to happen. So, but I wanted to give you kudos.
Appreciate that. Chase Brown to the moon, baby. Let's go. I said it. I was saying it all day Sunday morning. That was going to be the legacy game. And boy, did he not disappoint. Let me pull up the stats right here. I know he finished as the running back 4 or 5, depending on your settings, for the week. I believe he had here. I'm just going to pull it up real quick. Week 9. Yeah, so he had 120 yards rushing, 37 yards receiving. The 2 main things I want to address is the naysayers on Chase Brown. What everybody wanted to say was bad about Chase Brown was he didn't have good hands. He couldn't catch the ball. That game he went 5 for 5. 5 passes, 5 receptions. Everything that was thrown to him, he caught. The other thing was he couldn't block. Joe Burrow had the best game of this season with him as the primary running back. And I know it's against the Raiders, but they still do have a decent front who can put pressure on the quarterback. And Joe Burrow was fine. He stayed up. He had his best game of the season. So
he was also running for his life really early. He just I'm just gonna throw that out. If you want to go back and watch that game, his 3-step drops became about 1.5 real fast throughout most of that game, and that's on the offensive line. Don't get me wrong, that offensive line is really bad, and Burrow's making that line look better than they really are. But yes, you're absolutely right with Moss in there. He still had a great game, but I do want to throw out this. Or was Zach Moss out, I should say. But I do want to throw out this right here, though. I'm going to say it right now. Like, even though I'm also somewhat of a believer, I'm not as deep of a believer as you. I still believe he's going to have a great game this week as well. Baltimore's defense is really bad. You're going to have a 3-week stretch here where it's going to be bad to be a Chase Brown owner. And because they're playing 2 pretty tough defenses and they have a bye all over the next 3 weeks right before your fantasy playoffs. Don't get frustrated with it. Okay. Don't do anything stupid or silly. Once you get into your playoffs, he's going up against Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland. Those are all very nice plus matchups for Chase Brown being the lone back there. And also don't fall for the Khalil Herbert stuff. Yes, Khalil Herbert is going to get some time. He's going to be the de facto backup. But what I like about this is they didn't have a de facto starter and a de facto backup until now. They don't have anything invested in Khalil Herbert. It was like a 6th or 7th round pick. It wasn't anything, and it's not like it's one of Zach Taylor's guys. It's not a guy that they feel like he has to put out there and try to give run. They didn't overpay him like they did Zach Moss to make sure they had 2 guys out there getting run. So that part's nice, but Herbert will see probably more action than he did with Chicago, but nothing near what Chase Brown was seeing as the technically backup running back there. So yeah, I like that. And I mean, Herbert's worth a pickup, but I would wait until after this week because a lot of people are going to be spending fab on him. Let them spin the fab on him and then let them drop him after a week or 2 and then just go pick him up for free and keep him just in case something happens to Brown. That's at this point of the season, that's what we're looking at with running backs. We're looking at the backups that could have good games if the starter gets hurt and you're stashing those backups. And I mean, that's really the only time that you're going to really be stashing Herbert.
Yeah, and don't let the record fool you. Cincinnati fully believes that they're still a playoff team this year. So
and they are.
That's why they went out and made that move because they literally have nobody else on the roster. So if something were to happen to Chase Brown, today was the deadline. They had to go make a move today to ensure they had depth going forward for the rest of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised, too, now that the trade deadlines have all settled, there's going to be teams out there that cut running backs, too. They'll probably bring in a practice squad guy that can be ready to be pulled up if they need.
The one thing I am going to say, I am a little worried about this week because Baltimore's secondary is bad, but they have one of the better rushing defenses in the league. Like, they shut people down. So, like to your point, like, don't get fooled and think if he goes out for 50, 60 yards this week and that's all he can do, don't get fooled that it was only because he played the Raiders last week. Baltimore's rushing defense is a very good rush defense.
Yeah, but I still think he does pretty well this week because he's going to be the receiving down back until Khalil Herbert can get used to the offense and understand the system and offense, and they play Thursday night. I did look at that. Like I was looking at because I thought the same thing. It's going to be 4 weeks in a row of Chase Brown having a rough matchup. But then I was like, well, no, because they're going to dump the ball up there because Burrow's going to throw the ball a lot. And then with it being Thursday, Khalil Herbert just joined the team today. Like, he's got 2 days to try to pick up that passing offense. It's just not going to happen. Herbert might play, but I'd be surprised if he played more than a handful of snaps. But so that's why I decided. I mean, ultimately, if you're getting all of the workload against the Ravens, you're still going to have a decent game as a running back. And if Herbert was splitting carries like I think he's going to over the next 3 after this week, well, the next 2 games in the bye week or whatever over that 3 games or that 3-week stretch, that's why I think that Brown is going to have a little bit less to be excited about right before the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. Other news, we have all these trades. We've kind of mentioned the Khalil Herbert trade already. Bears to the Bengals. We got Marshawn Lattimore traded from the Saints to the Commanders. That one was interesting to me. The Commanders have already slowly, over the last probably 5 weeks, the last handful of weeks, have shown that their defense is a lot better than they were the first couple weeks. And they're kind of looking more like what we thought they would look like a couple of years ago when they had that really good, young, talented team on paper. They're actually starting to stop some people. So now they add in Marshawn Lattimore. I think this could be a real contending team that could make a deep playoff run if the cards continue to fall for them. And potentially, Jaden Daniels could be getting that Rookie of the Year. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's going to get Rookie of the Year, but I mean, he definitely should be in the consideration. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of rumblings that players have been talking to their agent before the deadline saying that they wanted to play for Washington, which before this season, before Jane Daniels, we haven't heard that in a long, long time. So, I mean, that's telling you something right there.
Yep. Yeah, something else that's kind of telling. Panthers trade Jonathan Mingo to the Cowboys. I'm going to get into that trade a little bit more as far as how I view that one a little bit later with my waiver pickup of the week, which is Leggett, by the way. Spoiler alert. But I'll get into that a little bit more in detail there. But for me, the excitement more is in Leggett than it is Jonathan Mingo. But, no Dak there. It's already a very subpar blah offense. I mean, d- do they have a coaching change this offseason, the Cowboys?
I mean, you would think so. I thought after the playoffs last season that there was going to be a coaching
Right.
change, but Jerry seemed to love. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he plays Santa at the Jerry Jones household. He doesn't want to break those ties. Defensive end Zadarius Smith traded from the Browns to the Lions, so he goes from Cleveland to Detroit. So city-wise, he's making a lateral move, but team-wise, obviously, huge jump for Smith. And I mean, they've suffered some injuries on that Lions defensive line. Browns obviously aren't going anywhere this year anyway. Obviously need to come up with some kind of money that they need to continue to pay the human predator to ride on the bench for at least a full year now. So maybe this helps break up some of that salary cap space. But yeah, the Lions potentially looking legit here, trying to make a move and to help with that defensive line until their injuries get back. So I love this move. Steelers trade to get Mike Williams from the Jets and Preston Smith from the Packers. So the Steelers making moves right now, and honestly, with where they're sitting at in the standings, I really like this for the Steelers. They're currently sitting in potentially a 3 seed right now, 2 seed because they've already had their bye week. So technically, by a half a game, they're sitting in the 2 seed right now, and only a couple games behind the Chiefs, but definitely they're in win now mode with Russell Wilson. Who would have thought?
Some
we got
people.
we got some people in the chat here. Chad Rome, subtitlers. I like that one. Not heard that before. Jared Goff wondering what quarterback should I target for during the playoffs, as I know his schedule. Yeah, definitely a rough schedule towards the end of the season. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on your options. If you could throw out some options, we could take a look at them. But I hadn't really thought too much about it. I do know that one that's streaming out there all the time that has a really weak pass defense schedule he's about to hit. Don't laugh. But it's Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones is about to hit the Panthers this week. Then he has a bye. Then he's got Tampa Bay. He's got Dallas, which Dallas earlier in the season kind of shut him down. But New Orleans is starting to fall apart slowly at the seams. And then that weak Baltimore pass defense that we just talked about, Atlanta, the Colts can't stop anybody through the air right now. All of that is during that stretch of the playoffs. So that might be a guy, especially if you're talking 2 quarterback league, which I'm not guessing you are if you're saying Jared Goff. But yeah, it is ugly to start Daniel Jones. That's just the first guy that popped up at the top of my head just because I knew the schedule was right for the Pickens.
I mean, nothing you said was wrong there, but going into the playoffs with Daniel Jones is just scary.
Yeah, give us a few options, Chad, and we'll take a look at it real quick for you. But yeah. Yep. Yeah, we're in agreement with you there, Chad. Let's see. Bobby Trauma. Hey, what are you doing, Bobby? This isn't Sunday morning. What? All right. How's it going, Bobby? Thanks for tuning in on Tuesday night. We'll see you again Sunday morning for the Title Time Start Sit Show, where we help with all your start sit advice for the week. But it says, if I have Otten, do I still need Laporte? Okay. Hopefully your trade deadline's not up yet, because you're very welcome to go ahead and trade Sam Laporta. But But no, unfortunately, you can't just drop Laporta. Like I don't. He's started to come back. I know he had another bad week this week, but there's going to be weeks. There's going to be times. But I mean, I guess it depends on how deep your bench is. Stafford or Purdy rest of the season. That's a Mark question. I've got my opinion,
Don't
but
do
I'll let
that
Mark.
to
This
me.
is Stafford here and divisional rival Purdy. You want? Tell you what. So
This
I would say probably Purdy personally. Oh, we got Nate. Oh, Nate is disconnected. I didn't see him down there. Sorry, Nate, if you've been in there for a minute. But you're disconnected. Back out and try again. But I'd say probably Purdy rest of the season. He's about to get CMC back any minute, so I think that helps a ton with that offense.
I mean, that's the correct answer. I didn't want to do it with my allegiance to the Rams, but like I've mentioned before, I still think even with all our squad back together with Puka and Cup all healthy now, I still think we go back to a running first offense for the majority of the time, and Kyron's going to get a lot of the touchdowns. So I think Purdy's probably your better bet because let me put it this way: they're a worse team than us and are going to have to throw the ball a lot more.
There you go. There you go. You got it in. Hey, what's up, Nate? Were you down there for a minute?
No, I just got here.
Okay.
It's been
right.
one of those evenings, so I'm
No,
excited.
you're good,
I'm here
man.
though.
Right on, right on. Yeah, so you can help answer Bobby Chalma's question here: Purdy or Stafford rest of the season?
Stafford.
Oh, it's 2-1 and not the one I thought. All right. He's bugging out about
Unless
Rivers.
Puka is still trying to punch dudes in the helmet.
Yeah, that
was the weakest ejection I've ever seen.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he easily could have just been trying to shove him back, and because of the leverage the guy had, his hand just went up and hit him in the head. We only had one angle.
And I get he swung, but that was the weakest punch I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and it's Puka. I'm sure he was swinging with a smile on his face. That dude, he doesn't get mad about anything.
Did you see him on the bench after?
Yeah.
McVay came over and talked to him, and he was just like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. But the great news is when he went back to the locker room, he was jogging, but it was almost like a sprint the way he was jogging. The whole game, his cuts looked good. He didn't look to have any kind of a limp. I think they just had him out there as a decoy to make sure he didn't get hurt. So it looks to me like he's going to be healthy, and he set out the rest of that game, so he didn't re-injure, so that helps. So a whole nother week of getting that knee healthy. Hopefully we have the Puka Nacua back for week 10.
And on top of that, Cup looked 100 times faster than he did the week before.
Yeah, but I only have one share of Cup and about 1,000 of Puka, so I don't.
I just lost my share of Cooper Cup and Frankenstein, so I don't really care what he does anymore.
Mark does. Mark cares. Somebody's got to care.
I care.
Yeah.
Mark and Cup's mom. All right, Aaron Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Cooper Rush, Bryce Young. It's dude. Okay, it's a 14-team league, and my league mates hold. Okay,
I'm guessing he meant Daniel Jones with the first one.
Yeah, and it said
not starting Aaron Jones at quarterback.
I mean, if those are your options, maybe you should start Aaron Jones at quarterback.
2 quarterback. It is a 2 quarterback league, so yeah. See, I was right then. Well, maybe Trevor Lawrence.
I'm doing Trevor over Daniel Jones. I mean,
he said it. They hold QBs like it's a 2 QB league.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence during the playoffs has Tennessee. He's got a tough one against the Jets. Then he gets the Raiders, and then another Tennessee during that stretch. So that's not a bad schedule either, other than that Jets game.
I'd be more worried about the Titans defense than the Jets defense.
I was going to say, yeah, Titans would be the one that scares me.
But I mean,
I don't know.
Their defense is
Daniel
good,
Jones.
I think they can still put up numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, I mean, you get the rushing threat just like you get with Jones with Trevor, too. Especially in the red zone.
But also, let us not forget that his original option was Jared Goff. He said
Why is he not starting him?
Goff. Well, because he's worried about the playoff stretch. The playoff stretch, they have
Doesn't matter.
the Bears, the Packers, the Bills, the Bears, the 49ers.
Doesn't matter.
Are they indoor or outdoor? That would be the biggest thing for me with golf.
So they have 3 home games in a row. Bears, Packers, and Buffalo's week 13, 14, 15, and then at Chicago and at San Francisco in the last 2 playoff games. So I say just ride with Goff and
I
then
think I
wait
ride with
until you
Goff
get
there.
there. Wait
Yeah.
till you get, because if you're riding with Daniel Jones before that, then you're not even going to get to the championship anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, then just see what happens. Yeah, you might get there a week or
Aaron
two before
Rodgers instead of Aaron
somebody
Jones.
else. Somebody else gets somebody else gets hurt a week or two before, and then you have another roster spot. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Okay, well let's take a look at that one. So Aaron Rodgers has during that stretch Miami, at Jacksonville, at home against the Rams, at Buffalo. I mean, none of those really scare me a heck of a lot for Aaron Rodgers, especially with that offense playing as well as they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Strongly looking at going to that game too.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
nice. Yeah. So the last 2 weeks, he's surpassed 200 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns. No turnovers, Rodgers, in the last 2 weeks. I was against New England and Houston, but it does seem like things are starting to click finally for that offense. So that might be your guy there, man. But
my only fear with Rodgers is if they keep losing games, he might quit.
Oh no,
injury.
No, he's not as bad as everybody says he is. Close, but not quite. So Rodgers does have a bye week in week 12. I don't see a whole lot of people going out and picking him up between now and then. I'd ride it out with Goff until after week 12, and because Goff plays Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis weeks 10, 11, and 12. Those are plus matchups. Go ahead and ride it out with Goff the next few weeks. Maybe pick up Rodgers after that if you're still scared. But we'll see how that works out for you. But all right. CMC back at practice now has, as of today, up to 20 more days before he must join the active roster. So we're finally going to get to see CMC at least in the next few weeks. I'm guessing probably a little bit sooner than that. These teams tend to like not drop them into that 21-day window until they know for sure they're going to be ready. And then most of the time it seems like it's that week. So we might even see him as soon as week 10 this week. So that would be wonderful. So any other news or injury updates that I missed that you guys want to talk about?
So the Rams traded Tre'Davious White to the Ravens for a 7th round pick. That was a big mistake in the offseason for us, trading with the Bills to get him. I think he played 4 games before he requested a trade. I mean, he really, coming back from that injury, he didn't look like his old self, and I don't know, he didn't fit in with that defense.
He's going to regret that whenever the Rams are hoisting that Lombardi.
Let's go.
Sorry, this is also a comedy show, guys. Patreon.com/toilets titles. We've got a tier for every budget, as my man Jason likes to say. But we got $2.99 a month that will get you into our Discord chat, our Patreon only Discord chat, where you guys can chat us up and tell us what you want to hear on these shows or what you want to see on these shows. The $5 a month or $4.99 is early access to the waiver wire episode that my man down below me, Nate, and our buddy Joe do on a weekly basis. Joe puts together a PDF doc that I send out to the Patreon supporters, and then these two fine gentlemen record an episode that I send out to the Patreons, and it's Patreon only. So a lot of waiver wire pickups you get early, you get to put them in there, and then Tuesday when everybody else is frantic about their waivers, you've already got yours set and ready to roll. At the $9.99 level, you get into our Frankenstank Listener League for free. That's right, free entry into Frank. $14.99, you get one-on-one roster analysis and a 30-minute episode breakdown of your league's draft if you do redraft. And then of course at the $24.99 level, it's additional giveaway entries into all of our multitude of T2T leagues that we run and organize, mostly done by our man Wicked. But again, that's patreon.com/toilets titles. Guys, we're going to get into the game of the week. Before we do that, the teams that are on bye this week that you guys need to think about for your roster lineups. You got the Browns, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks. So some good names, some big names in there, definitely with that Packers offense, with those wide receivers. But this is a good time for Jordan Love to get a bye week. I'll just say that. He's obviously not going to take himself out even when he can't run because of a groin. So maybe a bye week will force him to have to take a week off. So, all right, game of the week. Last week, I finally gained some ground on you guys. I gave up on playing the game and decided, you know what, I'm just going to play to my fantasy football team's delights, even though I knew that game was going to be a blowout, and it wasn't a blowout. So I think I'm on to something. So I chose the Cowboys at the Falcons. It was only a 6-point swing, and that brought me all the way up to last place. Still, I'm only 50 points behind second place now. But Mark, what was your game of the week?
My game of the week was I was trying to play the game with the Chargers and Browns, thinking it would be a low-scoring, close game, and it wasn't. I had the worst of the week, 17 points. Jameis let me down.
He broke the faith.
He did. Man, he just the quotes he provides every game are just insane. After the unwavering faith and ultimate belief was before the game. Did you see his quotes after the game they beat the Ravens? He said there's a white boy from Detroit that he really
Eminem. It was awesome.
Named Eminem and quoted him saying you only have one shot and not to blow your opportunity.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that dude is out of whack. He defended the human predator and called him such a great human being. So after I heard him say those words, I was done. I used to be a fan of Jameis Winston.
I'll be honest with you, Justin. I think he would have said that about anybody. It doesn't matter who the guy. I just think that's just who he is. He just can't say anything bad. It doesn't matter. Anybody that has done terrible things, he probably would just still say it. I just think that's who he is. He just doesn't say anything bad about a guy.
He knows he went down the wrong path of stealing crab legs, and he reformed himself. So he believes everybody.
He was rehabilitated. Everybody can be rehabilitated.
Okay, Morgan Freeman. All right, no. So, and that's another thing was crab legs. At least, even when he was stealing crab legs, it was at least it wasn't like some cheeseburger from McDonald's. The dude, at least he was making it worth his while. You can get in trouble, may as well get some crab legs. I respected the decision. He was a college guy. He was hungry. College kids get hungry too.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
They didn't have NIL deals back then.
No,
that's right.
Well,
that's right.
They had the under the table NIL deals, but
right. Yeah, but he wasn't being signed by Joe's Crab Shack. So,
no.
Nate, your game of the week last week was
it was the worst game of the week. Lions Packers. It sucked.
Well, I don't know.
That's miserable.
Maybe for a Packers fan.
Yeah, 10 points. So not terrible. So,
but you're still in the lead. You gained 7 more points on Mark in the lead there. You're at 79 points on the season. Mark is at 103, which sounds like a lot until you get to mine at 153. This week's game of the week, and I didn't change that in the doc to week 10. All right. So I went with the Thursday night football game, the Bengals at the Ravens. I almost changed that to the one that Nate ended up picking, thinking, I think that game is going to be close, the game that Nate picked. And then I realized, just like last week, no, I'm just going to go with the fantasy football. And then assuming that this could be a 2-touchdown game either way, it'll probably end up being close. So plus, divisional matchup, Bengals, Ravens, whole lot of fantasy players, Thursday night football. It's going to be a fun game to watch. And my wife gets to watch the entire game of Joe Burrow this time instead of watching him on Red Zone, where she only gets to see him when he plays good. So that'll be nice for her. So Bengals at Ravens was my game of the week, or is my game of the week for this week for week 10. Mark, what do you got?
So I'm just going to say this right now, Nate, you're in trouble because I also considered taking your game of the Niners and the Bucks. So if you're on it, I'm on it, and Justin's on it, that means it's going to be a very lopsided game.
But
Except I was gracious enough to not say the team names like Mark did and ruin it for you so that you can't say it.
well,
Oh, sorry.
I'm not.
I'll let him talk about this.
I'll just let you guys catch back up.
No, so
I don't even know where we're at. Okay.
I took the Steelers at the Commanders. I'm intrigued about this game. I really want to watch this game, so that's my game.
I like that game too. That should be fun. I got 49ers at the Buccaneers. I was very impressed with how the Buccaneers played against the Chiefs on Monday night. It almost seemed like I'm disappointed they didn't just go for two. Being on the road, bad weather, they're going to score if they get the ball. Like, I think they should have went for two there, but it is what it is. But I mean, Baker looks good. Their defense played well. I don't know what 49ers team is going to be there as far as who's playing. I mean, it's hard to tell who's going to be there. So I'm hopeful that maybe the weather's a little warmer and a little more humidity maybe in Florida than San Francisco. So maybe not, but I was just impressed how the Bucs played. I think they'll still be playing pretty well. So we'll see.
I just want to add two things to that. So we mentioned earlier Jaden Daniels. I think a guy who has no chance of winning the MVP, who should be in the MVP discussion, is Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
The way he's playing, especially after losing Godwin and Evans, and he's still putting up numbers, is insane. And then I heard a lot of people, like you were saying, about they should have went for two there. Like, I get it because you're going against the Chiefs, but for the majority of that game, they outplayed the Chiefs. Yeah. They were the better team in that game. So I don't like risking it all on one play. I think you just go out there and win in overtime. Clearly,
it's just more that I hate the NFL's overtime rules. So
me too. It's dumb. Like, they should adopt how the playoffs are and let.
They should do what college does.
That too, but that'll never happen. But
that's the best overtime there is. But start them like the 50. I don't care where. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
I mean, why does it matter? I mean, hell, it's so much better.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's neither here nor there. No, I agree though, Mark. Like I said, I was kind of like, well, it would have been cool to go for it, but I get it. So.
Yeah.
Shout out to David Genesis. David from Genesis Card Breaks. He finally got to use his Gremlin card, having two players in two different overtime games.
Oh, nice.
In Frankenstein. So he
swing his game.
No, he was already going to win anyway, but he was just excited to get Gizmo involved.
Yeah.
All right. Upset of the week. I'm going with the Patriots. The Patriots are playing at Chicago. Patriots are getting +6. Patriots are just a better team, really. I mean, Caleb Williams isn't developing quite like I thought he would. He
stinks.
What's that?
Eberflus stinks. Shane Waldron stinks.
Bears stink.
Their offensive line stinks. Now, the one thing I'm worried about, though, because I really want the Patriots to cover and win outright, the Bears only win home games. But
gotcha.
They can keep within 6.
There you go. So that's my upset of the week. Nate, what do you got?
I get the Bucs. 49ers. I'm surprised that they're a 5.5-point dog at home. That's a lot. I think they were like an 8-point dog though against the Chiefs, 8 or 8.5 maybe last week. So, I guess, but I don't know. I think, like I said, I think at home that helps. So
maybe McMillan comes back this week.
I just want Sterling Shepard to keep playing well.
Yeah.
What's the talk on CMC? Is there any chance of him playing this week?
There's a chance. Like I said, they brought him back into that 21-day window, and usually teams are only doing that if they know they can play really soon. And most of the time, it is that given week. So I'm thinking there's a pretty good chance, actually. But obviously, without seeing any reports, we don't want to announce it or say it. But I'll say this much: I have a plan to drop a guy in a league where I had CMC 101. He's been sitting on my IR all season. I've got a plan for who to drop as soon as they announce it, and I'm ready to roll him out and play him week 1.
Yeah. So I like the Bucks as a possible upset game this week. I don't know about CMC, so I wanted to stay away for that reason. So I ended up going with also my game of the week pick with the Steelers over the Commanders. I think that defense is going to really control that game. And I think Russell Wilson will do enough to win it.
Fair enough. Start him or sit him. So we're going to choose a player that is a QB1 for fantasy purposes, or a RB1 or 2, wide receiver 1 or 2, or tight end 1, and we're going to choose one of each of those to bench or sit this week, or maybe somebody that we're just dropping down to a flex, or maybe we have to start them because of who they are, but we're tempering expectations. And then we're going to take guys that are outside of that top 12 quarterback, top 12 tight end, top 24 running back or wide receiver, and we're going to throw them into our starting lineup. These are guys that are a little bit lower, maybe in the flex spot or even bench spot, that we like the matchup, we like the situation, and we're going to be starting them this week. I'm going to kick it off right. This has been a themed show so far, I guess, with Daniel Jones. He's currently the QB 19, but he faces the Panthers this week. And as if that alone shouldn't be enough of a reason, Jones traditionally actually has very solid fantasy games. And when I say solid fantasy games, I'm talking 20 fantasy points or more most of the time against weaker non-divisional defenses. So this is a weaker non-divisional defense. There's a pretty good chance that Daniel Jones is going to have a good game for you. I'm going to sit, as Nate would say, Kirk Kissing Cousins. He is currently the QB7 facing the Saints and in New Orleans. They're in New Orleans this week. And his worst game of the season so far this year was at home in week 4 against New Orleans. Now, both of these teams are playing vastly different than they were back then. But even then, it is a divisional game, so I would expect both of the defenses to be amped, especially to start the game. So start with caution, but I'm likely going to be out there streaming Daniel Jones and starting him over Kirk Cousins this week. Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is RB25. Again, sometimes we cheat on this game. He's just outside the top 24, so I was allowed to use him as a starting running back. He faces the second worst defense against running backs with 3 starting linemen out. That does kind of scare me a little bit on the running end, but it scares me even more on the Flacco end. So Flacco won't have time to get the snaps, or definitely won't have time to get through his read progression. So I look for a lot of running in this game to help slow down the pace of the game. And then also, whenever they do pass, potentially a lot of dump off passes for the Colts. So and obviously it's Jonathan Taylor. You're starting him. You kind of have to. So Najee Harris, RB23, is my sit of the week. So they play the Commanders, who we've already talked about have had a pretty sneaky good defense as of late. And he's also been sharing about 10 touches per game or per week in recent weeks with Jaylen Warren as well. So between the split and the matchup, I'm going to avoid Najee Harris where I can. Start of the week for me for wide receiver. Again, I was kind of running out of time. I forgot to do this segment until kind of the very end. So if it sounds like I'm cheating, it's because I was making it easy. And it's Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 31. He's going against the Rams. And although the matchup, it doesn't really matter one way or another, or although it's a good matchup, that doesn't matter one way or the other, because with Tua back, you have to start Tyreek. And then my sit of the week, though, is actually one that maybe could be a little controversial one way or another. I'm going with Courtland Sutton. And he's the wide receiver 19 right now, but after facing 2 bad defenses in a row, he's finally scored enough points to get in this top 24 so that I can actually use him in here to bench his ass. Because when he's outside the top 24, I don't use him to start. I would never do that. But when he's inside the top 24, I'll absolutely use him to bench. I do like him a lot more now that he actually has a good quarterback in Bo Nix. That's right. I said it, a good quarterback in Bo Nix. George, if you're watching, you can send your DMs directly to me at JustinFF_. I don't care what you say bad about Bo Nix. He's a pretty good quarterback. But this week against the
take Bo
Chiefs,
Nix over Tua.
there you go. This week against the Chiefs, that's a tough draw for outside wide receivers. Plus, also, it's never Sutton. So my starting tight end of the week is the one and only Taysom Hill. He is the tight end 31, and he gets to play the Falcons this week. Last time he played the Falcons was back in week 4, where he had 2 touchdowns right around halftime when he left due to injury. So he had 2 touchdowns around halftime in one half. Like, he was having a great game against the Falcons before he got hurt. He usually plays well against the Falcons, just like most everybody. A lot of times, usually plays well against the Falcons. So I look for Taysom Hill to have a big week this week. Cole Kmet is my tight end sit of the week. He's currently the tight end 9. In the 2 games where he scored a touchdown, he scored more than 24 PPR points per game, or in both of those games. But the problem is that he's barely averaging 3 targets, not catches. He's barely averaging 3 targets per game in the other 6 games where he didn't score a touchdown. So he's either a huge piece of that offensive plan or he's not involved in the offense whatsoever. There's really no middle ground here. So they are utilizing him more in the run blocking and pass protection than Caleb Williams. And also Caleb Williams is just having trouble finding him down the field. So way too inconsistent for me. Maybe this is a game where he pops off and he does well, but I can't trust it. If I'm out there, if I'm looking at a tight end like Cole Kmet, then I'm probably seeing some streaming tight ends out there that I like better, like Taysom Hill. Nate, what do you got?
I was going to put Taysom Hill down, which was funny because I've always been a noted Taysom Hill hater. I was going to put him down this week because I think he's going to do good. Number 2, it was funny how 2 weeks ago the Bears fans were like, yeah, playoffs, this, that, whether we're going to win the division. And now it's like, holy crap, the world's burning down. I'd say I could have been there, but you guys always suck. So
I just want to jump in real quick and give Justin a little kudos from Title Time this past Sunday. He guaranteed one of our listeners a Taysom Hill touchdown. Said he'd give a free Patreon membership if he didn't score. But guess what? No free Patreon memberships for you.
But
Taysom Hill scored a touchdown.
But everybody should still tune into Title Time Sunday morning from 10 to noon because I feel like from now on I'm probably going to do that every week. I'm going to give away an opportunity to win 3 months of free Patreon by guaranteeing a touchdown one way or another. So I that was a fun little.
I also want to stop just for a second here.
I knew this was coming.
You guaranteed a touchdown on Title Time and succeeded, but all season long on our touchdown parlay, nothing from you.
In Justin's defense, I don't think I've had one either. Jamar Chase has a huge week last week, doesn't score a touchdown. He had like 120 some yards, no touchdown.
So here's part of our
that the first time outside of the parlay, he gives a guaranteed touchdown.
So that's funny. But here's part of the problem is that we do this show on Tuesday night, and you want me to guarantee a touchdown that's going to happen on Sunday. Like, I need to see injury reports. I need to see how they did in practice. I need to see like what the schemes are. I don't have time between, Monday night to Tuesday night to really have a good idea of what Sunday's going to look like. So by Sunday morning, I have a better idea.
Okay.
Sure.
That's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
Sounded good. I'm starting Matt Stafford. He was 25 of 44 with 2 touchdowns last week against Seahawks. I know the Dolphins are like 4th beds against past the season, but I feel like part of that is because of how terrible they were without Tua. Like, nobody had to throw the ball on them. You know what I mean? Like, if you scored 16 points, you were winning. So I think they were averaging like 12 points a game. Like, so nobody had to throw the ball. So, like, there was a stretch there where the numbers were skewed. And I just think Stafford's better than they are. So, I like him. Sitting, Trevor Lawrence. Jags facing Minnesota defense. They had 13 picks this year. Lawrence throwing 6. I could see that climbing. I know there's a league where I might have to start him anyways. Actually, I do have to start him in a league because Jordan Love's on a bye. And I mean, just kind of temper your expectations because I still like Brian Thomas a lot with him, but That Vikings defense is pretty good. Running backs, the one and only Kareem Hunt is RB34. He had 27 carries for 106 yards, game-winning touchdown against the Bucs. Denver is 14th against the run, so that's pretty good. But I didn't know this actually until I read it a little bit ago. Hunt has at least 21 carries and a touchdown in 4 straight games. So, Uncle Steve, I know you think CEH is taking over. I don't think so. I'm not even sure if Pacheco's going to take over if Hunt keeps this up. So,
last night was very weird with the Hunt usage. Like, he went into that third quarter, I think only having maybe 9-10 carries, and then they went the entire drive where all they did was hand the ball to Hunt, and he got back up to like 22 carries by the end of the game.
And then by the end of overtime, like even before the touchdown, did you see how exhausted he was?
Yeah.
Because it was like that entire – because it was a long drive in overtime on top of the long drive at the end of the fourth. So he would fall over and he would just lay there for like 2 seconds. He'd just be like, hold on. Just give me just hold on. And then they'd drag him up and he'd go stand behind Mahomes and go do it again. But yeah, no, I noticed that too. That was hilarious.
The good thing he's a downhill runner. You know, you just kind of can like run as you're falling over. You know, just,
You
don't got to worry about being shifty. Sitting Ramondre. The Patriots line is so bad. So basically, like, it's up to him if he's going to get any carries, you know, or get anywhere. So I said, I think he'll be okay this week, but just not as good as he has been. Like I said, the Bears defense has been good, but the locker room does seem like they've all quit, is what everybody's saying. So maybe he'll just make them quit even more. Wide receivers, Tank Dell. I know he was like everybody's darling last year, and he's been pretty quiet all season. But everybody got hurt, so he did well last week. I don't know. Nico's, is he coming back or not? It sounds like, do you know?
So the IR designation can be lifted this week, and they said even just a few days ago that he was on pace and on track to return just after the IR. So and that he hasn't had any setbacks, so he should be back week 10, which
is fine. I mean, honestly, that's probably fine if he is back because Diggs is still out. So right. Like I said, Tank had 6 catches for 126 yards last week against the Jets. You know, like I said, I'm firing him up. I don't know if it'll be that big if Nico's back, and I don't know what capacity Nico's going to play. I don't think he would come back if he wasn't 100% though. I'm sitting Wan'Dale Robinson. I said Dale's kind of a fantasy darling early in the year. I know Joe and I talked about him on the waiver show quite a bit. But last 4 weeks, he hasn't clipped 10 points. It's been like, I think he had 4 points last week, 8 points the 2 weeks before that, and then 10 points. Neighbors healthy, Giants stink. I'm sitting Dale. And to be honest, when I say sitting him, I'm probably cutting him from most of my teams unless I don't have any other options because I think it's kind of done. And apparently, I don't even know who scored that long touchdown last week. Apparently, did somebody say, are you starting him? One of you guys, I thought, put him as a starter. Oh, you have him in the other deal, Justin. That's right. Sorry. Didn't mean to ruin that.
All good. No, you're all good.
I forgot his name. That's fine. I didn't know. Tight ends, starting Sam Laporta. He's tight end 18. He had 2 catches last week against Green Bay, but I think he'll get back on track against Houston. I still think he's kind of starting to get back into the swing of things after being gone. I think he'll be fine. I'm sitting Zach Ertz. He's tight end 12 right now, and I think he'll do better than he did last week because he had 1 target last week. But I think I'm benching him. I have a better option. That Pittsburgh defense is very, very good.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Sorry if I seem a little bit out of it here. I'm trying to find a better update on Nico Collins. I'm just not seeing it, but I'm pretty confident that he's probably going to be playing this week for what that's worth. But I agree with you. I think that probably does good for Dell as well to have another guy on the other side. So,
yeah.
Especially against the Jets. He's oh no, that was last week against the Jets. So who does Houston play this week?
It's right down here. Give me a second. I thought I had it on somewhere because I thought I was starting.
The Lions. Yeah. Right. So they already have a weaker pass defense.
That's about the only way you can get by them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anybody can get by them. All right, let's go. Mark, what do you got?
All righty. So the quarterback I'm starting this week, and my my whole, until we get to tight ends, my whole other positions are kind of going to have a theme here. It was my game of the week. It was my upset of the week. The quarterback I'm starting is Russell Wilson, quarterback 39 versus Washington. I think they're going to have to beat, if they're going to win that game, I think it's going to be through the air, and it's going to be on Russell's back. I saw an interesting stat. I mean, everybody knows I was on Russell over Fields to begin with, but the stat was that over the first 6 games that Fields played, he threw the ball into the end zone 4 times. Now, I'm not talking touchdowns or anything, but balls actually thrown into the end zone 4 times through all those games, where Russell Wilson in the 2 games he's playing has thrown the ball 9 times already into the end zone. And that's exactly what you need to do when you have a guy like George Pickens. Like, you got to give the guy opportunities. And
well, I mean, you should always be throwing the ball in the end zone if you're trying to score touchdowns. I mean,
yeah,
it's the best place to put it.
You would think. So Russell Wilson there, and then I'm going to be sitting Trevor Lawrence versus the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to get enough pressure on Trevor that is going to make for a very rough day for him. Running back, I'm starting Tyrone Tracy versus Carolina. He's the running back 33. He's finally seemed to take the majority of the work over Singletary. And if you're getting the majority of work in any offense against the Carolina defense, I'm starting you as a running back. So
Tracy's awesome. He's been fun to watch. He's awesome.
Yeah,
for sure. Back to my theme, I'm sitting Najee Harris versus Washington. I think they have a decent front, a pretty solid front, and they're going to be able to shut the run down. And like I think Justin mentioned earlier, he's splitting work on top of that. So
yeah, about 10 touches a week.
Yeah, that's good enough reason to bench him. Then I'm starting George Pickens versus Washington. Same reasons as I've said before, that they're going to have to beat him through the air, and it's going to be between Russell and Pickens doing that work. So I think he's a pretty good start. I am sitting Lad McConkey. He's wide receiver number 20. Tennessee has a very good defense, and I think we're going to see the Chargers go back to leaning heavily on the run in this game. And then moving on to tight end, no, I had this backwards. Yeah, I have these backwards in here. I almost said I was starting Dalton Kincaid, but I'm not starting Dalton Kincaid. I'm sitting Dalton Kincaid because he's too inconsistent for me to be throwing out on a weekly basis. And I'm starting Evan Ingram. And I know I just said that Trevor is going to struggle against Minnesota with that pressure, but I think that the amount of pressure they're going to have onto him is also going to lead to him checking down to Ingram a lot. So I think he'll still have a decent day while overall the Jaguars struggle.
Like it. And then you say you're sitting Dalton Kincaid. Yeah. Yep. He's definitely too inconsistent. I'm going to skip the keep him or quit him this week just because we're pushing over our time limit here as it is. I'm going to jump right into the hot waiver ads. This is the one I wanted to talk about earlier, but I wanted to save it for the waiver ads. Xavier Legette is my hot waiver ad for the week. Not for the week. The waiver ad is somebody we want to add this week that we could be potentially keeping all year or the rest of the season. He's 32.6% rostered in redraft leagues. Sure, the quarterback play there really sucks, but they're clearly ready to hand over the reins to the younger players in Carolina. Legette has scored a touchdown each of the last 2 weeks, while trading away Deontay Johnson during that time as well. And now the Panthers have just traded away Jonathan Mingo, who had 4 targets over the last couple of weeks as well.
I think it's a couple of years. I didn't know if he'd even had that. So
yeah, no, not much at all. Not much at all, but just that little bit. You know, I'm just saying, like, they just keep getting rid of other options that could potentially be a threat to Xavier Legette from getting more targets. I don't like his ceiling at all by any means, so temper expectations, but his floor moving forward should at least be flex worthy through all the bye week situations that you have moving forward. And then if they happen to make a connection, if he and Bryce Young or he and Dalton or he and whoever end up having any kind of connection to finish out the season, then who knows what could happen later. But for what he's going at right now in leagues, it's definitely worth the pickup. Nate, I see yours there. And then Mark, do you have one ready or are we going to skip you?
I do.
Okay.
I actually got 2 for the waiver wire pickup just because recently I saw in a lot of leagues Juwan Jennings was dropped with his injury and then the bye week following after that. I think he's a great guy to pick up for the rest of the season with Ayuk out for the year. So if he's out there, if people have panicked on him, then definitely go scoop him up. And then my other one's just for 2 quarterback leagues, Cooper Rush. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Dak's going to miss quite a bit of time. So anytime you can get a starting quarterback this late in a 2 quarterback league, he's worth a pickup.
Nice.
My waiver ad was Sterling Shepard. I talked to him a little bit earlier. He's like 7% rostered, so you can probably literally just pick him up. Like, don't even need to use any fab on him. He only had 10 points last week, so it's not like he's huge, but it looks like he's going to be in for quite a bit of big share of the targets with Kate Otten, anyways. And he got a couple carries too, I think, on some like jet sweeps and stuff. So he's somewhat of a veteran guy, I guess, for Baker to kind of lean on. So I'm not dumping a bunch of fab on the guy, but he's definitely somebody I'd throw on my roster, probably keep around because I think he'll kind of keep going up as the season goes.
Yeah, I like that one for sure. And he showed that he can still catch the ball just like he did with the Giants, just these crazy catches out of nowhere. So, which is good for Baker because Baker's not the most accurate quarterback. So maybe Sterling Shepard drops it if it hits him right in the hands. But if it's going to be, 14 yards off, he'll go get it.
Yeah.
All right. What about your stream of the week? A guy you're going to pick up just for this week?
Yeah, I can't say his name. It's the Bengals receiver,
Andre Iosivas.
Yeah, Iosivas or whatever. Only because my dude Jermaine Burton, I don't think is going to be on the team very much longer. So he scored last week with Higgins out. Baltimore's pass defense is bad. I said if he's going to do anything like more than 1 catch for 10 yards and a touchdown, I feel like it's this week. I know it was that 2 weeks ago, Mark, when I was like, start Cedric Tillman, do it, and he scored a touchdown, a bunch of yards. That's not how I feel about this one, but if this is the week, this is it. So,
right on. My stream of the week is Theo Johnson.
Giants. That's the guy I was trying to think of earlier.
Giants tight end. Only rostered in 1.3% of redraft leagues, but Theo Johnson, very, very, very not well known at all. But in the Joe Clark household, it's a household name. So, it's time that you all start to recognize this man has 10 targets over the last 2 weeks and 18 targets total in 4 of the last 5 games. With the wide receiving room doing its best revolving door impersonation outside of Neighbors, the Giants have needed this level of stability from the tight end position for many years now. Joe was a young man sweeping chimneys the last time that the Giants had a good tight end. So the Giants play the Panthers this week, who have given up the second most fantasy points to tight ends. So I'm gonna go with that. And I hope Joe's watching because that's definitely something I would say to his face too. Mark, did you mention the stream too? Did I felt like you gave both of yours earlier, right?
No, they were just both waiver wire ads. This one, I know we talked about this last episode, but I took the ruling for this very literal this week because he is a weekly stream that you start this week and never again.
Okay.
Daniel Jones. Makes me sick just saying it, but it is the Panthers. So I'll give him this week and then cut his ass.
There you go.
Mark, make sure you bet his over on rushing yards this weekend.
What is it?
It doesn't matter. You always bet it.
Oh, it's okay.
Like literally, like it's easy money because it's always like sometimes it'll be like 40 yards and like at the end of the first quarter he'll have like 38 yards and you're like, well, that's cool, and then he hits it. I mean, it's usually pretty spot on.
Right on.
Because it
All
probably
right,
isn't
there
released
you
yet.
go.
I'll look what you guys are doing the next thing.
All right. Well, the next thing is one of my favorite segments. It's one and done. So we choose a different. Okay, we start a four-man lineup. One quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end. Once you choose a guy, you can't choose him again for the rest of the season. Like, for instance, I chose Baker Mayfield as my quarterback in week 1. I cannot use Baker Mayfield again the rest of the season. And so we just work our way down the line until we end week 18. And whoever has the most points at the end wins, and whoever has the least points they just suck at fantasy football. I don't think we have anything on the line for this one, but anyway, I am currently in the lead, so I will go first. We'll do the whole like golf rules on that. Since I finished the last round really well, I'll go ahead and lead off here. So
You got
what's that?
it's your tee box.
There you go. Is that what they call that?
Yeah.
You're on.
So last week I went with Bo Nix at my quarterback spot. He got me 18.72. Alvin Kamara, 27.5 fantasy points in PPR. I'm going to save what I had to say about that whenever we get to the TD parlay. AJ Brown, 5.6, really hurt me last week. But then K. Dotton picked it back up, the highest scoring tight end between the three of us at 21.7. Helped gain a lot more points back that way. Overall, not a bad week for me. I would take that most weeks. I'm in the lead with 594.46. So this week, my four-man lineup is Josh Allen against the Colts because it's the Colts. Enough said. Aaron Jones is playing at Jacksonville. Jamar Chase at Baltimore gets that really bad secondary. And then my tight end, I'm kind of surprised you guys didn't jump on this bandwagon. I went with Taysom Hill as my tight end. Now, here's my question for you, Mark, because this is your game. All right.
Okay.
In our scoring format, we're using on Sleeper T to T. Taysom Hill is listed as a tight end and a quarterback. Does this mean I can use him as a quarterback in a couple of weeks when they play your Rams? Or he's
one and done with the player, not the position.
If you really want to use Taysom Hill as a quarterback in a couple weeks, I would let you do that just so I can catch back up to you because he's going to get like 6 points.
It was against the Rams. I was going to do it just to make fun of him that my tight end scored well against his Rams.
I get that.
That was the only reason I was considering it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. So I've got Taysom Hill against the Falcons as my tight end this week. And Mark, you are in second place. You are only about 7 points behind me. So what do you got for last week and this week?
Yeah, so I looked at my last week performance and I was like, how did I not get the lead back? Because I had Sam Darnold, who got 27 points, Alvin Kamara, 27.5 points, Justin Jefferson, 21.58 points, and you had AJ Brown with 5.6 points. But then I looked at tight end, and I had Sam Laporta with 4.8 points, and you had K. Dotton, which makes complete sense where we traded off there.
Yeah.
So, I continue my streak.
The good news is, and I'm giving one away here, but Nate went K. Dotton this week, so you're the only one left that gets this huge bump from K. Dotton at some point this season because he's just going to keep getting like 20 points a game.
Yeah. So for my players this week, I really wanted to go a big quarterback here, but the big quarterbacks I had left, the only one with a decent matchup was Jalen Hurts. And I'm going with Saquon Barkley at running back. So if Barkley is going to have a huge game, I didn't want to go Hurts as well. So I pivoted and I talked about it earlier, going Russell Wilson at quarterback.
Yeah, you're putting all your eggs in one basket on this show.
Yeah. Wide receiver, this one kind of hurts. I hate taking a wide receiver for Lamar Jackson, but Cincinnati's secondary is pretty bad. So I'm going with Zay Flowers as my wide receiver this week. And then, again, talked about it earlier, Evan Ingram. I think he's going to get a lot of checkdowns this week.
Yeah, I saw Zay Flowers sitting there, and I mean, if that matchup for Jamar Chase wasn't so sweet, then I probably would have went with it. But in your case, though, you already used Jamar Chase in week 1, so no, I like your lineup this week for sure. So let's see, Nate, you are just a few points. You would be 16 points behind Mark for second place. So we're all right there, still really tight together. But who'd you have last week and this week?
Yeah, and last week, like I said, I looked at this points like kind of marked it. I'm like, what? I thought had a good week. I was wrong. So Kissing Cousins got me 23 and 0.7, which that's fine. That's pretty good for me for quarterback. I've had some pretty piss poor quarterback. Actually, that's the most. No, Drake May got me the most quarterback points. And then I had Saquon Barkley, which was good, 32 points. I think somebody said that. And then, of course, Mark's guy, Puka Nacua, got me 2 points. Thanks, dude. That was cool. And then I started Mark's favorite tight end, Dalton Kincaid, and he got me 7 points. So that was kind of my own fault for starting that. That was dumb.
Yeah, you should have played the crazy rule where if your guy gets ejected by around halftime, you get to also start his backup.
So I could have started. So I should have got Cooper Kupp's points because that's Puka's backup, right?
Yeah, that's Puka's backup.
All right. This week I'm starting Jalen Hurts at Dallas. They've been on a tear. Hopefully Hurts scores like 4 touchdowns again on the ground. Maybe not. My running back, David Montgomery. I haven't started any of the Lions running backs yet, so I'm going to see how he does this week. And wide receiver, Jamar Chase. I think. Did you say you're starting him, Justin, too? I think you are.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Got to do it against Baltimore. And then tight end, K. Dotton, the guy for I think everybody's favorite tight end right now. So
yeah, definitely Baker Mayfield's favorite tight end. That's for sure.
I said that on the waiver wire show the other day. I said I didn't know who to pick. I said I don't know if K. Dotton would handle the 20 targets, but he's going to be fine. I should have said that. So,
all right, this TD parlay has been frustrating me all season long, and it didn't help this week.
Changing mine. That
I chose a guy in Alvin Kamara that had over 200 freaking yards and still didn't score a touchdown. like again, I'm going to tell you again, just because you keep wasting your money on these bets, Mark, you stop betting my TD suggestions. All right. And
I'm going to let you guys know a secret. I stopped betting these quite a while ago. Okay, I've been betting mine.
Hey, you know what? Better about that. I'll tell you something, Justin, right now. Kyron Williams is not going to score a touchdown this week because I told Mark 2 weeks ago I was going to put Kyron in there, but I didn't want to jinx him. And now look what Mark did. I see what you did there.
Oh, Mark.
I don't need to jinx him. That's my guy. I can bet on him. I can bet on him.
I just jinxed the guy I put down, so it's fine.
I will say though, last week I got a little karma for making fun of you guys. I had Jamar Chase, who Joe Burrow threw 50,000 touchdowns last week, and not a single one of them was to Jamar Chase.
Yeah,
like Jesus Christ. That's why you guys are both starting them this week because you know they got to go to them after last week.
Mark, you should probably do this parlay. It'd be a good one.
Yeah, I changed mine. I'm going with Blake Corum just because Mark retired. No, I originally put down Taysom Hill again going against Atlanta. Like the guy, he averages like a touchdown a drive against Atlanta. So I'm pretty confident. You can, you know what? Let's just add that one in too. Let's just go. If you bet this and it hits, if you go ahead and bet Taysom Hill, Blake Corum, Kyron, and Derrick Henry, if that hits with Taysom and Blake being the other two, that's probably going to be a pretty good payoff. Just saying.
Yeah. I said you should make it.
I'm not betting Blake Corum.
If they bet that,
Blake
it
Corum's my dude,
pay for like a month or for a couple months.
And by the way,
if that did hit, then that would cover all the money I've lost you.
Also, I did check to look for Daniel Jones rushing props on all like 12 apps on my phone, but none of them are up. So you're gonna have to wait.
Kyron didn't score last week either, so I don't have to worry about breaking his streak.
Oh, he didn't break the streak.
I think that was 2 weeks ago when I said that. Anyways, yeah.
Hey,
I
Nate,
think Derrick Henry because whatever. I don't care about him.
Hey, Nate, at the top of the show, I teased that we have a bunch of new Frank monster cards for next year. We're going to have over 50 in total, like 56 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be wild. But the reason I thought about you is because you are this prop bet guy, constantly talking about it all the time. There is a monster card that involves predicting prop bets.
I like that.
Yeah, I made that one just for you, Nate.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I'm not going to give away too much because we're going to have an episode probably later this week where I'm going to drop them. We're going to talk about them and
I even created
discuss some
one,
changes. Yep. Mark has one in there. My son Peyton has one in there from the TV show Phineas and Ferb, Dr. Doofenshmirtz or whatever it is. Dr. Doofenshmirtz or I don't know. I can't pronounce it. But we got some good ones in there.
For sure.
George just proposed a trade to me in our league. He wants to give me Tucker Kraft for Trey McBride. I don't. Come on, dude. I know I
bet he does.
I'm not that big of a homer. They just sent back good try.
Yeah, there you go.
Didn't we play last week, Justin? I think we
What's
did.
that? And
I think we played last week.
Which league?
Our staff league. I think I stopped you.
No, I played. Oh no, I did play you. I played Rich in another league. I was gonna say Rich, but yeah, no.
And I even had my crappy performance from Jordan Love.
Oh, I played Rich in the Tournament of Champions division. I'm in the Giants division, and I beat him by 5. Well, I think we were the 2 top scoring teams or something like that. Like we were both really high up there.
Nice.
I need enough guys on my roster in that league to fill it out. I got too many guys on bye this week.
So I scored 142 points in this league this week, and I was the lowest scoring winner of the week.
And you still beat me by 42. That makes me feel good. Oh, I did have Dernis Johnson, the 3rd string running back for Jacksonville going against you because I had no other running back options with all my injuries and bye weeks. And that dude scored like a 20-yard touchdown that got called back for a penalty. So that was fun. I mean, I still would have lost. Don't get me wrong, but I was pretty excited to see him finally get a carry, and it was for a touchdown, and then they got called back. And then, of course, this is the week that Kyron breaks his. Oh, man, this is just a bad lineup. Listen to this. Like, Dak got hurt earlier in the game. Johnson with my bye week issues. Kyron snaps his touchdown streak. Puka gets ejected. Coker is just a guy I just filled in. London got hurt. McMillan was out, but by the time they announced that it was out, it was Monday Night Football, and it was too late. I couldn't do anything about it because I didn't want to drop McMillan since I was already going to lose by 50. Because I thought about dropping McMillan and picking up Sterling Shepard because I knew that would be the smart play. But he's not going to. Now looking back on it, maybe Sterling Shepard rest of the season is better, and I would have been better off. But this team is all injuries. I started off really good in this league too. Like I was kicking ass. I think I was 4-1, and now I'm 4-5.
Yeah, this isn't the Powers League where you can go buy a better team than mine and
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever it takes. I want to talk about that real quick. If anybody in the Powers League is out there listening, check your messages. That guy who traded you half his roster to beat me, I messaged him immediately after trying to get some of his other players because he's going against David, who puts up 15 points a week. You don't need anything to beat him. But I messaged him, ghosted, never responded for 3 days.
Yeah, but it took me 2 or 3 days to get through to him too. I just started early in the week. I didn't wait until Thursday night, Sunday, whatever it was.
I thought we were just gonna go head to head, and just fight it out ourselves. But once I saw you go buy players, then I was like, oh, maybe I need to try. But
nope. The deal was no powers against each other. We didn't say nothing about players.
I just thought you had a little more pride in your team and yourself than to go buy.
Not at all. I
No,
have
not
zero
at all.
pride or faith in this team at all. so my plan all along has been to use all of my powers and all of my fab to buy all of the wins I can at the start of the season, just to be able to get into the playoffs and see what happens.
Yeah.
Then I found out recently, after I spent most of my fab, that in that league, if you didn't make the playoffs, all of your players go right back into the free agent market. So everybody that's in the playoffs can now bid fab on your players. And now I have no fab left because I've been using it to buy all these victories and all this. And also, I only have one use of my voodoo power left, and it's when I play Steve the second to last week. And that's only because I'm thinking about keeping it to play. Yeah, there's a lot going on in that league, but yeah. So,
but to your point, if you don't get in the playoffs, those fab bucks are worthless. So might as well use them to get some wins and get in there.
This is a good one right here, man. So,
I think this
Gesicki is solid.
I thought it was Mike Glennon, Skycam Mike Glennon.
Gesicki's good if Higgins is out again, but and then Taysom, of course, you know how much I love him. Based off of what I've been saying,
he'll touchdown at this point. So,
but it's still Mark Andrews. Like, dude he's made his comeback. He's fine. He's
3 weeks ago.
He's Mark Andrews. So he doesn't even look like old man Mark Andrews like he did the first few weeks. Like, he looks like normal Mark Andrews.
And last week they blew Denver out. They didn't need him, so you know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's still Andrews, and I mean, this week they're playing Cincinnati, so it's probably going to be an air it out sort of game. So a lot of targets. Yeah. But thanks for tuning in, Victor. We appreciate you. Thanks for the question. But all right, fellas, I think that's it for us. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about. All right.
Happy trade deadline day. We made it.
Yeah.
And the first BCS bracket was revealed. So it's been a big day in the country.
Yeah.
The first what?
The BCS for the college football playoff.
I thought you said BTS. I was like, what the fuck is a BTS bracket?
Whoa, you can't say the F word on here.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
All right. Hey, actually, since you're here now and you weren't earlier, Nate, I was going to ask you about that Preston Smith trade. What do you think about that?
That's fine. Kind of makes us thin at edge, but that's all right. It saves us. I had a picture pulled up. It saves us a lot of money. Like 17 million next year in dead cap and almost 20 million the year after that. So that's pretty much why it was done.
Yeah.
He had a pretty big cap hit both years. It sucks. He's been a great, I've loved the guy. He's awesome. You know, just a good dude, very good at football. But you know, we got Lucas Finesse needs some time and Aaron Mosby. We got guys that need to be playing more. And like I said, helps on the cap. So best of luck to him. I think he's going to a good place. Him and TJ Watt will have some fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that defense will be scary good.
Yeah.
It already is. Good. Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, thanks again for tuning in and watching. We appreciate you guys. Y'all take it easy. Have a great night and good luck in week 10.
See you.
With a million podcasts out there, we're grateful you chose What's the Titles. We give fantasy football advice to get your crap team to the finals. From Nate's cousin Eddie Persona and his unapologetic love for Chubb, and Justin's hatred for Chris Ballard, our show is as good as a belly rub. Mark is the best of the NFC West, putting down Penguin Pete with his love for the Rams. Grab a whiskey or a beer, we're glad you're here.